29 of the Tyre Recycling podcast. This is our final episode of the Tyre Recycling podcast for 2021, and we're going out with a bang. Hi, Ewan. How are you doing? And could you tell us what we have in store for our final episode of 2021?
We're all fine here. Today, we're speaking with Tony Wibbeler, Chief Executive Officer of Boulder Industries. This is an update following up on a previous interview that we did with Tony around about this time last year.
Absolutely. As you said, we did interview him about this time last year, and as you know, it was a lengthy interview. But I remember we learned quite a lot about Boulder Industries, and during that interview, we focused much more on Boulder Industries, the company, its products, the issues in the operating as a tire pyrolysis business, especially that one in terms of volume that we've discussed quite a lot, and the company's financing structure. This time, I imagine gathering his thoughts on the RCB call to action, which we discussed in the previous episode, will be right at the top of your list.
Yeah, we do touch on that. It's what's been happening at Boulder Industries recently has been an expansion at the Maryville plant, which is their original plant. And they have also signed a deal just recently to take over the old Pyrolyx plant at Tyre in Indiana. So whilst everybody else is still talking about scaling up, here we have Boulder Industries doing just that. It'd be interesting to hear how Tony is, what Tony's take is on that.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's dive straight into it so we can find out more about Boulder Industries, thoughts on the RCB call to action, their expansion plans, and their recent purchase of the plant from Pyrolyx.
Okay, so for episode 29 of our podcast, we're back with Tony Wibbeler from Boulder Industries. We spoke to Tony about a year ago, and this chat's to bring us up to date because there's been a lot happening at Boulder Industries. I think first off, we'd like to hear about what's happening at Maryville, because you have a big investment there.
Yeah, so Maryville is doing really well. So it's our first asset it's been commercially operational since February of 2019 as a 24/7 operation. And we operated that for about 2.5 years before we began our expansion. And that expansion is increasing the production capacity by about 2.5x. We're adding an additional reactor, which is the 2 times, and then some of the balance of plant things that we're improving are actually, adding a lot to that as well to give us a little more production capacity out of the same, value. So it's really like plant 2. It's a completely new shredding operation. The finishing operation has been renovated to almost every part has been touched there. It's a new building and a new reactor. And for us, the reactor is rubber in, raw carbon out, and two cuts of our oil into storage. So that whole piece is brand. So everything. So it's almost like a whole new plant, which gave us a lot of opportunity to look at scale. As we think about scale, we're actually scaling at full scale again. So it's almost a whole second plant, and that is commissioning now. We started commissioning this week. It's mechanically complete. We're going through that process right now. We've not fed rubber yet. That plan is next week, but it's falling on a Christmas holiday, so probably I may have pushed a touch just because of that. We've definitely dealt with some of the COVID issues. We were 9 months delayed on our steel building, for example. That was the biggest part of the delay, was our steel building, and then workforce was tricky in that small area. And for construction, when the foreman gets COVID on the framing crew, they can't come out, or the lead pipe fitter is not around for a week. So we lost a little bit of time there, but we're still on budget. That was the good news, is we've maintained the same budget as we planned, almost 2 years ago prior to COVID. So it's been the same expense. So that'll be up and running in first quarter. And Right now, we're just in time delivery. We're everything that gets manufactured, as soon as it gets through QA/QC, it's hitting a truck and out the door on all fronts. So we're very happy about that progress. It's generating cash, and that's fun. That's different. So operationally, we're generating cash and selling into a lot of markets too. We're selling into the plastics market. We're selling into the tire market. We're selling into the MRG market. We're selling in pull-through strategies through sustainability companies who are driving their sustainability efforts down through the supply chain. So we're really kind of hitting all the different markets: automotive, inks, coatings, paint, tires. So we've got a wide variety of customer types, which was intentional, so that we can, segment our Boulder Black out. And then on the oil side, we've got a couple of large customers for that are. We'll talk more about that later, because I think you're going to ask me probably about oil later specifically. So I won't get out of your question lines. So okay. I'll stick with your lines of questioning. But so Maryville's great. It's a well-oiled machine now. It's very calm there. It's almost boring. It's almost boring.
I don't think it could ever be boring.
Yeah, there's not much excitement. It's going really well though. Yeah. Thanks for asking about that.
Your latest acquisition is interesting. The Ex-Pyrolyx plant at Tyre. Yeah. Now we know there were big plans for Pyrolyx and contracts with Continental, and things just went badly very quickly. Does that plant come with a similar sort of baggage to the Reclaim plant that Clean found when Jesse Klinkheimer bought that plant, where they couldn't get a permit to operate because of debts and issues created by the previous owners? Are you going to run into issues there?
Well, in distress assets, you never can say never, but this is my 12th distress asset deal I've done in my career. And our general counsel and my business partner and I've done 4 together in our lifetime. And Maryville was a distressed asset we bought out of a private sale and foreclosure, right? So we've got a lot of experience in that. But I'll say, a couple of things about that is Pyrolyx, for all the things that didn't go well, they did a whole lot of things right. And one of them is they were a professional organization, publicly traded. They had good legal representation. They were a clean operating company. There's not a lot of baggage. While they lost a lot of people's money, it was well orchestrated. The bankruptcy was well done by the bank. The securities were released. Everything worked out pretty well. I think they did a very nice job unwinding it. It's a very difficult thing to do. And I would definitely say the trustees handled it appropriately and handled it very well. And we felt very comfortable. We had to do a lot less work than we traditionally would. Like with Maryville, that was not the case. I would have loved to have been in Jesse's situation with his little tiny problems compared to what I had in Maryville, right? This was really well done. I mean, that was a professionally unwound piece of business. They did it properly, and we, of course, there's a couple of dangling things out there that we wish that weren't there, but that's par for the course. I mean, even if you buy a brand spanking new facility, you're going to have some issues. But the big key is the permit. They kept the permit intact and they renewed it properly, and they prepared the community for a new entrant, which they had some say in that of who the entrant was, right? So, we felt we're fully permitted. And with the size we plan to do, it fits right inside of the permit for today for phase 1. So we're very happy. Pyrolyx, gosh, they did a lot of things right. They really did. One of them was the location. That location was well selected. The building, the construction of the building and how they designed that was really well done. The finishing line is, almost identical to what we have now in Maryville, with a couple of changes that we would have probably done. For example, now we have a jet mill in that facility, as well as our mechanical classifier mill in Maryville. So we have multiple product options now we can offer. So so we don't expect that. I mean, nothing's perfect, but we're not expecting it. We think it was really well done. We think our lawyers did a great job. We think their lawyers, their trustees did a great job. And quite frankly, the former Pyrolyx guard has been more than helpful. You know, from their CFO to their CEO to, you know, and we've got their salesperson who works for us now. So they've been incredibly helpful. A lot of those folks just really want to see this survive. And so we've received a warm welcome in the city, a warm welcome in the community. And the folks who tried to get it done that didn't have, you know, really embraced us and are there to help us. And if I make a phone call, for example, to the former CEO of Pyrolyx, he will pick the phone up and offer me any help that I need.
That's great news. That's great news. So you have that in operation first quarter next year?
I think that's the plan. I mean, you know, we've got supply chain's a tricky one, but the plan currently, the reactors are already under manufacture. I had another site already planned, which will happen also, but we already are manufacturing 3 reactors, full sets, full kits. We're in manufacture prior to us buying that asset. And now that asset, because of its permitting status, will go first. So those reactors will go in. So we're ideally commissioning about this time next year, about in the same position we're with Maryville for its expansion about this time next year, and, you know, production in first quarter of 23.
Okay, so Boulder Industries now has tried and tested equipment, it has tried and tested methods of operation. You essentially have a package that you can pick up and drop in wherever you need to go.
We do.
Now, I know you have an office in Dublin.
Dublin.
Yeah, and can you say, do you have any European projects in the pipeline?
Yes. Yes, and I was trying to push this off a little bit because I wanted to announce this on this show, but it's not happening. But I suspect first quarter, very early on, maybe even sneaking before the end of the year, you'll hear about exactly where. But if you looked on our LinkedIn, you can see that I'm hanging out a lot with the ambassador of Belgium, right? So likely we'll be participating there, and we've got a warm welcome in the country of Belgium. So we're likely to situate ourselves in there. And we have some good relationships with different French organizations, German organizations. So we feel very comfortable about that. So I wouldn't be surprised if you hear that very shortly. But Belgium is a target for us, and we feel very comfortable that that's going to be a part of our business. And then, you know, everybody talks about the UK. There's a reason for it. We've got a pretty large reason for it. We have a very, very large offtake with a company based out of London. And so our position, and when you hear about that, you'll understand it's a well-known business and it's a well-known opportunity. And we're just going to, you know, work together on that one. So likely in the UK, and that'll be our first 2 European. So Dublin office, it's a good place for an American company to headquarter their European operations out of. Works out well for us for a lot of variety of reasons, and we do have plans to be in the UK and in Belgium right now for Europe. Okay,
look forward to hearing those announcements, and we can talk about them when they happen.
Yeah.
Now, you're obviously aware of the Michelin Bridgestone call to action to create a market framework for initially RCB and then for other recyclates. What sort of difference is that going to make to Boulder Industries?
You know, I've listened to what everybody's said about it. I can't get in Michelin or Bridgestone's head. I talk to them all the time, right? They have our material. They haven't told us to go away. You know, I think it's great. I mean, anytime a big corporation supports something like what we're doing, I mean, this is a part of their sustainability program. It's a part of their supply chain program of allocation. It's a part of their cost savings program. And it makes sense. You know, it makes sense. They've been watching this for years. And, you know, Michelin's made a direct investment into Scandinavian Enviro. And I think that was the first indication. You know, Bridgestone has their investment into Delta Energy. You know, I think those are all big good signs. You know, basically 70% of the carbon black in the world winds up in tires. So having large tire organizations doesn't hurt. Certainly helpful. I'm delighted that they're stepping up and being promoting a little bit. But if you heard what they said, they were very measured on it, right? And they should be. But I expect big things, and in the tire companies in general. I can tell you this: my conversations and our team's conversations with tire companies is dramatically different this year than it was 2 years ago. And partly to your point, we have a kit. Like, they have been getting material from us for years and years and years, and it's the same material day in, day out. So I think that's super helpful. I think that, the ability for sustainable virgin black, and we'll talk about that probably a little bit later, is a huge compelling reason to start working with folks, because we do make an oil also. So the tire companies ultimately being able to deal with the TPO is also interesting. So I think it works hand in hand. As we've been firm. We're not an RCB company. We're not a tire pyrolysis company. We're not a tire recycler, right? We're not. We're a circular solutions provider for the petrochemical, plastics, and rubber businesses. That's how we focus on. And we don't make RCB. We make Boulder Black. It's a very specific spec. It does what it does. I don't know if other people can make it. We make what we make. We're not really focused on, an RCB per se. We're focused on a sustainable alternative to carbon black, and we're focused on our petrochemical side of our business as well. So I think it's coming together, right? I think it's coming together. It's we're not the only ones. Obviously, there's other companies that are getting some traction and they're delivering daily. So I think it's fantastic. Yeah, I hope they're as collaborative as they say they are. It'd be fun. It'll make it a lot more fun.
It will. It will change the market dramatically. It's always refreshing to hear you say you don't produce recovered carbon black, you produce Boulder Black, because I every day there's somebody producing recovered carbon black through some form of pyrolysis or other, and I think do they not read what their PR people are putting out? Who are they directing this at? Because anybody who's in the business knows that it's not recovered carbon black until it's been processed. Anyway, moving on. You touched on sustainable carbon black, which is, I think, going to become the new in term, because I think we've had two. Black Cycle have mentioned it in the past week, and I think Goodyear came away with a sustainable carbon black, but I think the Goodyear thing is a bit of smoke and mirrors, but that's just my view.
And that was with Monolith, right? That's the Monolith relationship you're describing. Yeah. So look, Monolith, it's a different platform. Their pilot facility is just down the road from Maryville, right? I don't know if you realize how close we are. We're very close. I think we're 90 miles away from each other, probably.
Yeah. What struck me about that was Goodyear moving away from fossil fuels, but still using natural gas, which is a fossil fuel. But anyway,
you said it. You said it.
Anyway,
there's definitely advantages, right? There's definitely the advantage.
Yeah. The idea, it's Orion's testing of the use of tire pyrolysis oil to produce virgin carbon black. Yeah, puts and the conclusions that it equates to virgin carbon black. It's a slight change on the dynamics of the market, perhaps, because it creates a second demand for the oil, as it were. So what do you think about that side of the market?
Well, I don't see it's a change in the market. I've been commercially producing TPO for a virgin black company for a very long time. 100% of our Boulder Heavy goes to a virgin black manufacturer for the manufacture of ASTM blacks today. We do that with, and I can tell you, I'll just say it. We're doing Tokai Carbon Company. I don't think that's a proud feather in their cap. So they've been producing at large scale with us at large scale. We're not testing, we're fully producing. Orion does have our product too, so does other people. We're looking at it, but we're in full commercial scale. If somebody today wants to purchase a ASTM grade virgin black that has a sustainable feature of Tyre pyrolysis oil in it, specifically Boulder oil heavy, it can be commercially produced, delivered today. Like we can send you trucks, rails, whatever you want today, or Tokai would send it to you, but I can connect you, right? So we're actually doing it full commercial scale. So we've felt like that's been the market for a very long time, and designed, if you look at our design, which by the way, welcome to come anytime you'd like to come see any of our operations. We'd love to host you. We'd love to have you. You'll see what we do we do not distill. We don't have a single cut and distill. We have two separate condensing points on our reactor, and one of them is specifically condensing for the purpose of CBO. And it's been that way since 2019.
So you're a little bit ahead of the game there.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes I feel like, I don't feel like I'm ahead of the game. I just feel like I'm just doing the logical stuff. I think we're just out there, we're just guys like just looking at markets and trying to make products. We're just a products company, right? And we just try to make products for the market. And it made most sense that the easiest path for tire companies to get that, even if it's for marketing, but a lot of it's just to get that sustainability piece. It's a pretty large sustainable advantage with Boulder oil inside of ASTM black. It's a massive needle mover, right? It's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. And Tokai, just kudos to them for being so focused on sustainability, and for them to be so focused on the economics of their customer, and to be willing to work with us. Gosh, they're just really have been wonderful. And, for them, like, they're just like trying to solve their customer problem. They're just helping the customer, right? And how nice is it for a large tire company to say, we want the most sustainable solution possible. And but I'm not going to change my supply chain. And for them to say, Tokai, can you just deliver me an ASTM sustainable black and a Boulder black blend? And I want to get as much in this as we can in the compound without adjusting things. And how will you do that? And they say, well, we'll use the Boulder Industries lab, which is called the Bledsoe Innovation Group, to develop that scenario for you, for your inner liner, for your sidewall, for whatever you're looking for, your non-tire rubber goods. And we'll help develop those compounds. And gosh, if you look at the tire market and you say, drop a 5% blend of Boulder black in there, right? Drop that in there, and drop some ASTM grade, right? Carbon black with Boulder oil inside of it. They get this whole sustainability thing and wrapped up in a nice little bow. We work together with the compounding folks, and they're not buying from a new little company. They're not buying from some random company. They're buying from the people they buy from every day. That's my thought on the market. I love Michelin, but what I really love is the virgin carbon black reach outs. Like, we're not shy about the conversation with Continental Carbon Company. They were one of the first companies to kind of look at that. I don't want to name them all, but I can tell you, like, they all have reached out over time. We personally really believe that the virgin black companies are best suited to deliver their customers, as they have been for 100 years, wonderful products. And we can collaborate, but I don't, and it doesn't mean they have to buy our technology or license our technology. We can work together. We look at it as like, an Intel Inside kind of model, right? I don't need to build the whole computer like Dell. I can just build the microprocessor, the chip that makes it do its special thing for that one portion of this entire big, large business of delivering billions of pounds of carbon black to customers. And, we can take, so it closes the loop pretty well too, because we can take their off spec, run it through. We can put the oil in there. We can blend, we can go direct. There's just so many options inside of that to really help the virgin black industry grow within their own customer business, and improve their margins, reduce their costs for their customers, reduce the supply chain risk, help them meet their sustainability goals. It really is it's a really working model that we're really enjoying. And we think that models like that, if you go back to the Michelin Bridgestone conversation, that makes a lot of sense for them just to stay in the supply chain and demand a product that meets their new needs through the companies they're working with, right? So, and we can work with any of them. I mean, we.
Right. Just one final question, just a quick one. Now, you've said that there's been a change in the market in the last couple of years. Thomas Sorensen's said the same in Viral. Others have spoken about a change in the driver for the market.
Yeah.
Whereas people were going to the market and up until recently, and the advantage that RCB had was cost, or TPO was cost. But now the driver has changed, and it's now sustainability. And the fact that it's sustainability rather than cost is pushing the market, or pulling the market rather. Whereas you in the past, people were knocking at closed doors. Those doors have opened because of the sustainability issue. Would you say that was a correct assessment?
I mean, look, each customer has their own driver, right? But I would say that the push towards sustainability and the acknowledgement and the awareness of the consumers, they care. If you look at the research, it suggests that companies who put sustainability at the forefront are more profitable. If you look at the research and you say, this phone case is selling for $20 a case, and this phone case is selling for $20 a case, and this one says that they have a sustainable material and it outsells the other one in a dramatic pace, like 86% acceptance rate over the non-sustainable focused one. So I think the consumers are driving that for sure, right? So how I look at it is, in today's market, it feels like sustainability is definitely the door opener that we didn't have before. This push is opening the door, right? The ability to perform is keeping you in the door. And we're no longer a me too. We're actually in positions where we've increased performance. Our lab and our compounding lab and our group, the Bledsoe Innovation Group, we are working on performance applications for Boulder Black. Like we're not just like, oh, if only you just barely, you lose performance. You don't have to. So performance keeps you in the door. Price gets everybody's attention. And I think the key, the other pillar of this, like the bow that wraps this up, is allocation, is supply chain. And one of the benefits of the industry that we're in, right, is that we have to be close to the tires, but we can also be close to the customers. So we don't have to build a mega plant. We can be very close, even co-location, which you'll probably hear about a lot here coming up, particularly with us. You can be closer. So transportation costs reduce, which improves sustainability. They can lock up. Like we've got several customers who are just purchasing reactors. Like we want a full reactor's worth for 10 years. That's theirs at a price. No, they don't, especially in the smaller groups who are the middle markets, who kind of don't have the buying power of the largest tire businesses, but aren't small enough where the volume's large enough where it actually matters. The difference in a couple of cents matters in their bottom line. And they're not, looking to distributors saying, oh my gosh, where's my carbon coming from? Because there was a big onslaught of need for this particular tire, and tire company A just bought us all out and there's nothing available. And now we're getting this new pricing and we can't even get it, right? So I think supply chain over the COVID process, really acknowledge that local supply becomes important. So I think that the two pillars, right, are sustainability and allocation. And in the middle, you've got to perform, and you better be good price, because the price discussion didn't go away. It's better.
It never does.
It's better. It's better. I mean, I'll tell you, I'm very, very pleased with the pricing discussions. But at the end of the day, we're not selling it for more because it's sustainable. But we're certainly not being forced to dramatically reduce the pricing. We have to be healthy. We have to be a healthy company. It doesn't do anybody any good. You have to be a healthy business to be able to support that. So yeah, I think sustainability is opening the door. And I think allocation is a really important part of that pillar. And then, price is in there. So it's the full four legs, in my opinion, of the table.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I think we've got a lot of information there. And I'm sure that our viewers / readers will be interested in what you have to say. When we speak to people like yourself, we always see a spike in views of the podcast. So thank you very much for your time.
Likewise, we really appreciate the opportunity to chat with you. Thanks again. Really appreciate it.
So there you have it, our second interview with Tony Wibbeler and our final interview of 2021. Ewan, there was a lot going on in that episode. Firstly, let's quickly touch upon the aforementioned RCB call to action. What's your reaction to Tony's thoughts on the RCB call to action? Does it match what you've seen from other pyrolysis operators?
It does and it doesn't. For people who are coming into the industry and those who are looking at focusing on the tire sector, it doesn't quite tally with their take on this. On the other hand, for those who are already scaling up, already in the business, who have already got markets, it ties in with their view of things. Now, Boulder Industries is at a stage where it has already been dealing with Bridgestone, with Continental Carbon, with Orion. It's already been sending its tire pyrolysis oil to these companies for processing. It has a market for its Boulder Black. It sort of mirrors comments made by Pascal Klein at Pyrum Innovations that, yeah, okay, it's interesting, but the market's there and they're already addressing it. It can only make things better, of course. So that was interesting. We've gone from a situation where everybody in the market seemed to be chasing the tire industry to the situation where you've got some of the market chasing the tire industry and some of the market saying, yeah, okay, it's a boost, but we can live one way or another.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are definitely interesting comments. And obviously, we spoke at length about the RCB call to action last week in our extended podcast where we discussed the announcement with Scandinavian Envirosystems, amongst others. So I want to divert our attention to the other main points of interest in that interview, and that's obviously Boulder Industries expansion plans, which are sort of have a two-pronged focus on them. Firstly, the recent announcement of the purchase of the Pyrolyx plant, which is announced on December the 8th, and the plant in May, obviously, and also that is in combination with the expansion plans at the plant in Maryville. So there's a lot going on there. What do you make of that? Are those expansion plans going some way to resolving that constant question of volume that we see pyrolysis operators having to face? I think, for example, the Pyrolyx plant, I saw a quote about them looking to manage 3 million tires per year there. I think I saw.
Yeah, it's the expansion at Maryville is building on what they already have. The Boulder Industries now have a proven technology. Now, lots of people say that, but Boulder Industries are commercial with it. They have a model that works. So my take is they're duplicating that at Maryville to increase expansion there, production there. But more importantly, perhaps, and I think Tony hinted at this, we might see in the new year that that model might well be transposed to other markets, possibly in Europe. That we'll have to wait and see. The Pyrolyx takeover, or the takeover of the Pyrolyx plant, is interesting because there were a lot of questions raised about Pyrolyx, about its financing, about its operations, about how it was going to meet the demand that it had. And Boulder Industries are going in there. Tony's told us that the takeover, the sale went very smoothly. Everything was done very professionally. And they should be ready to roll. I think he said sometime early first quarter in next year. That will give them a huge capacity compared to what they had 6 months ago. So they're meeting that scaling up that we talked about in the last podcast very quickly, as opposed to the time scale of 5 or 6 years that was being discussed by some of the other specialists in the field.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up on. So we'll finish there. Thanks for your time in interviewing Tony Ewan. And all that's left to say is I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and wish all our viewers and listeners a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.